Hi algebra students, it's Miss Brott here. We are on page 24 for video number 18. So go ahead in your packets and flip to page 24, please. Again, it's very important that you are writing down all of this material as you're watching the videos. All right, so number 1 says, given the graph below, write the inequality that relates to the graph. So if we're gonna write an inequality or an equation, I need to find my M and my B. So remember that M stands for slope. So I'm going to pick 2 points on my graph. So I'll pick 1 and 2. And I'm going to find my rise over my run. So I'm rising 1, 2 boxes. So 2 goes on top. And then I'm running 1 box to the right. So it's a positive 1. 2 divided by 1 gives me a positive 2. So my M is 2. Remember that B stands for the y-intercept. So my y-intercept in this case is 1, 2, up 3, so it is a positive 3. So if we're writing a linear inequality, remember that it's the same as your linear equation, which is y equals mx plus b. So my m is always next to x, and then I add or subtract my b. And we always start with y. But now it's a little bit different because we're doing an inequality here. So I have to figure out if I want the greater than or the less than symbol. So because my shading is going above my line, I'm going to put the greater than symbol. I also have a dashed line here, or you could call it a dotted line. So that means I'm not going to put the line underneath for or equal to. So my inequality would be y is greater than 2x plus 3. It says pick a point that is on the dashed line. So we already put 2 points on that dashed line. So I'll just pick this point here. So the coordinates of this point are 1 to the right. So over 1, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So positive 5. Verify algebraically that that point is not in the solution set. So algebraically means I need to show work. So when I have a point, I have an x value and a y value. So I'm going to take the inequality that we created in the top, and in that inequality, I'm going to plug in my point. So x is 1, so where x is, I'm plugging in a 1. So my 2 and my x are being multiplied. And y is 5, so I have 5 is greater than 2 times 1 plus 3. So then I just solved this. So 2 times 1 would give me 2, plus 3 is 5. So we needed to verify this is not in the solution set, and it would not be in the solution set because 5 is not greater than 5. 5 would be greater than or equal to, but since we don't have that line, this is not true. Now it says explain using the graph why the coordinate, it should say, is not in the solution set. So the point or the coordinate or the ordered pair is not in the solution set because the point, we don't want to say it, we want to be as specific as possible. So because the point is on a dashed line, which means not equal to. So if I need to show work as to why the point doesn't work, I'm just plugging in the point to the inequality. If I'm explaining using the graph, my point that is on a dashed line is not in the solution set, which means if we had a solid line, the point would be in the solution set. Number 2. Number 2 says to translate the inequality, y is less than or equal to the product of negative 3 and a number decreased by 2, then graph the inequality. So y is less than or equal to, so if I make an L with my left hand, this is my less than symbol. So an L with your left hand for less than, that's the direction your symbol should be going. Or equal to the product, so product means to multiply,
-3 and a number. So we have -3x, because we don't know our number,
And then decreased by means to minus, so decreased by 2. It then says to graph the inequality. So before I ever graph, I need to solve for y. So this is already solved for y, so we can just pull out our m and our b. So remember, m is always in front of x, so my m in this case is -3. I put that over 1 to make that into a fraction. My b value is -2. So b is where I begin, so I start at -2 on my y-axis. My slope is a -3, so I'm going to go down 3, and then it's over a +1, so that's to the right 1. So I'm going to keep going down 3, right 1. The opposite of going down 3 into the right 1 is going up 1, 2, 3, left 1. 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 Now before we connect our points here, we have to decide, okay, am I going to have a solid line or a dashed line? So because I have the or equal to line underneath, I'm going to draw in a solid line. We always put arrows. Then we have to decide where our shading goes. So y is less than or equal to. So if anything is less, we would go below. So if I put my pen on this line and went down, all my shading would be this direction. And we want to make sure we extend the shading to the edge of the graph. And don't forget, label, label, label. So we're putting y is less than or equal to -3x minus 2 on this graph. All right, we're going to go over to page 25 now. So on page 25, it says, suppose you intend to spend no more than $60 buying books. So if I want to spend no more than $60, that means I can spend $60 or anything less than $60. So no more than would be my less than or equal to symbol. Then it says hardcover books cost $12 and paperback cost $5. Write an inequality to determine how many books of each type you buy. Graph this inequality on the axes below. So I need to represent my variables here. They don't tell me what x is and they don't tell me what y is. So because hardcover books come first, you have to put x above hardcover books. If this is a 4-point question, you're going to lose a point for not explaining what your x is and what your y is. So if x is hardcover books, then that means my y are my paperback books. So next to y, I need to put paperback. So if I need to write an inequality, and my hardcover books are $12, so that would be 12x. And my paperback are $5, so that would be 5y. And I want to spend no more than $60. So we said that was less than or equal to. So there's your inequality. It then says to graph this inequality on the axes below. So if I need to graph this, I need to first get my y alone. So I want to get everything without a y on the same side of my line or my inequality symbol. So that means I need to move the 12x to the 60 to get everything on the opposite side of y. So since the 12x is positive right now, I'm going to do the opposite, which is to make it negative. So I'm going to subtract 12x from each side. So then I have 5y is less than or equal to 60 minus 12x. I cannot combine those two together because the 60 does not have an x. I still need to get y by itself. The 5 and the y are being multiplied, so I'm going to do the opposite, which is to divide, and I'm dividing every single term by the 5. So now I have y is less than or equal to. The number I'm dividing by is not negative, so I don't need to flip this. 60 divided by 5 would give me 12. And then I can't divide 12 by 5 evenly, so I'm just going to keep it as minus 12 over 5x. So now we're going to go and pull out our m and our b. So remember, m is your slope. It's always in front of x. So that would be negative 12 over 5. B is the number by itself, so B is 12. So B is where I begin, so I start at 12 on my y-axis. My slope is a negative 12 over 5, so negative 12 tells me to go down 12. And then a positive 5 tells me to go to the right 5. So we actually only have 2 points on this graph. Remember, when we're graphing inequalities, we decide, okay, is it a solid line or a dashed line? Because I have the or equal to underneath my inequality, we're going to have a nice solid line here. I then have y is less than or equal to. So I'm now going to shade below. So less than tells me I am shading below. We don't want to put arrows on this graph because then we would be getting into our negative numbers, and we're talking about hardcover books and paperbacks and money, so we don't want to get into our negative numbers. But we do definitely need to label. And when we label, we use the original inequality. So 12x plus 5y is less than or equal to 60. So don't forget to label. All right, the next part of this says if you buy four hardcover books, how many paperback books can you buy without going over budget? So if we said that X are my hardcover, I'm going to take my inequality that we wrote originally, and where X is, I'm going to plug in 4. Because X is my hardcover books, and we have 4 hardcover books. So then I'm going to solve for Y. So 12 times 4 is 48. I then need to get everything without a Y on the same side of my inequality symbol. So I'm going to minus 48 from each side of my inequality symbol. I'm just going to carry this down here. So now we have 5y is less than or equal to 12. If I divide each side by 5, so now I have y is less than or equal to, if I take 12 and I divide it by 5, I would get 2.4. So I need to find out how many paperback books I can buy without going over my budget. So if I bought 3 paperback books, is 3 less than or equal to 2.4? No, that wouldn't work. So I could buy 2 paperback books in order to not go over budget. So the answer to this question would be 2. So we're not writing y is less than or equal to 2. The answer is just 2. All right, number 4. Number 4 says tickets to a play cost $5 at the door and $4 in advance. The theater club wants to raise at least $400 from the play. Write an inequality for the number of tickets the theater club needs to sell. So again, we need to say what our X is representing and what our Y is representing. So we're going to say X is tickets at the door because that came first, and Y are tickets in advance. So if each ticket at the door is $5, that would be 5X. And tickets in advance are $4, so that's 4Y. It then said at least $400. So if we go back to that page 1, and we see at least down at the bottom of our chart, we're using at least is our greater than or equal to symbol. So greater than or equal to $400. So all it wanted me to do was write an inequality for the number of tickets, so we're done with that part. It then went on to say if the club sells 40 tickets in advance, use the inequality above to find how many do they need to sell at the door to reach their goal. So 40 tickets in advance, we said in advance was my Y variable. So where Y is, I'm going to plug in 40. And then I'm going to solve for X. So 4 times 40 would give me 160. I want everything without an X on the same side of my inequality or my line. So I'm going to minus 160 from each side. I now have 400 minus 160, which would give me 240. Going to divide each side by 5. We get x is greater than or equal to 48. Oops, my lights went out. Sorry, guys. So now, remember, it's half a math test and half a reading test. So we need to solve and answer the actual question. So it says, how many do they need to sell at the door? So if x is greater than or equal to 48, since I have that equal to, I can sell at least 48 tickets to reach their goal. So your answer to the question is 48. So what we're going to ask you to do right now is go to page 28 and 29, and you're going to complete those. So you're going to page 28 and 29. You're going to use these pages as a reference if you need any help. And you're going to submit a picture of these under video number 18. Message your teacher, please, if you have any questions. And I want to give a big shout out to Miss Santoro for telling me to order this gadget here because I am getting great feedback on my videos. So thank you, Miss Santoro. Have a good day, everybody.